Hey everybody, coming at you live from my backyard, which is probably where the rest of you are going to be doing your bushcrafting. I'm doing a tag, okay, and this tag is in the backyard, and we'll get to that in a minute. I'll have to ramble a little bit about things that's been going on. Everybody's aware of the worldwide pandemic going on with the virus going around, and so lots of people not working, lots of people quarantined, lots of people told to shelter in place and don't go out. Theaters closed, churches closed, restaurants closed. Everything that's not vital to the food chain or the healthcare chain, stay put, stay in place. Now, leading into that, a lot of my friends and viewers know that I was going to be on a long shutdown for March for various reasons, multiple reasons that there's no reason to even get into. Let's just say my hours have been modified and I have wound up working just 40 hours a week until sometime in April. And I don't know if it's the beginning of April or the end of April, but then we've got to go back to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, without getting too deep into anything, and because I can't say a whole lot about the company because it's a big company and it's the government. Anyway, basically the government has deemed it vital to the food chain and the healthcare chain, okay? And so, without getting too deep into all of the details, and because we're involved in paperboard and packaging, okay? And the packaging has been deemed, there's a huge shortage of it right now from everybody ordering stuff online and off Amazon, and all of the packaging of just everything, all the healthcare stuff, the gloves, the face shields, and all the extra food that people's getting at home and people's not shopping. So, basically that's it. But anyway, my hours have been modified, and so it's going to be bad. I thought that after March was over I was going to get back out there, but I don't know what April is going to involve. I have no idea. I'll try to do what I can. So anyway, now to the tag. Okay, I was tagged by Ventura Bushcraft. Okay, and it's the 2-stick fire challenge. And what it involves is two pieces of wood, 2 sticks, 2 pieces of wood, your choice, 1 ferro rod, and 1 knife. Now it's kind of a cool challenge, or tag, or whatever you want to call it. And the idea behind it, I think it's funny. He did this before I went on shutdown and before the virus spread around everywhere, and he said he deemed it as do it in your backyard. And so it's actually a pretty good tag for right now. So this is something that's just it'd be great for a lot of people to do if you're stuck at home. So let's go on over there to where I got a little bit more room. I think I don't know, may do it here. But I'm gonna gather everything up. We're gonna talk a little bit more about this. So I was gonna go over and do this in front of the shop, but I didn't want to battle the glare from the sun that's coming over, make it where I can't see the camera. I'm just gonna do all the processing of the wood right here, and then move over up on the hill to where I got a dirt spot where I can make the fire, not in the grass. Now, what I'm starting with is I have 2 sticks of wood. All right, now I am purposely starting with sticks of wood that have cracks in it. All right, now before some of you say, ooh, that's cheating. No, it's not cheating, because every time I go in the woods when I start a fire, I find wood that's dried up and cracked, because these cracks make it easier for you. All right, so I have 2 sticks of wood and I have 1 knife. Now, normally I always have a machete and a knife, or a machete and a saw, or a machete and a saw and a knife. I never go out with just a knife, so if I did, it'd be my good old Mora Companion HD, because I love this knife. I have lots of knives, but that's a good knife right there. Now for the ferro rod, here recently I have discovered, I kept hearing about Nathan 4071. Okay, he's a guy on eBay, and I think he's on Instagram, but everybody kept telling me that his ferro rods are incredible. So I contacted him and got some, and most of the time on eBay he sells these blanks, and you put your own handles. Well, sometimes if he has time, you can get him to make you some handles. And so he made me, this is a 3/4 and this is a 1/2 inch. And I think it's 1/2 inch. But anyway, he made these out of cocoa bola, I think that's how you pronounce it. And they're just beautiful. Now this one is mind-boggling because the wood grain on it, there's a spot that literally looks like an owl. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's a place, and he didn't, it ain't like he made that. It's in the wood grain. It looks like an owl. But I'm going to be using that. And then he made a striker too out of cocoa bolo. I think it's how you pronounce it. But anyway, so ferro rod, knife, and 2 sticks. All right. Some people will complain and say, you know, why don't you just use grass, or why don't you use a cotton ball, you know, or you know, why don't you, you know, grass, leaves, pine straw, cotton ball, wax makeup pad. You know, a lot of that stuff, whenever you're using the wax cotton balls and the things like that, that's more of like a survival, prepared ahead of time kind of a thing. Bushcraft is more of the art of actually cutting and carving and doing things with your knife. Not to mention, there's a couple other reasons. If you go to a campsite, all the little sticks in the area are gone. Okay, and so you're going to have to process up 2 thicker pieces of wood. Another thing about it that a lot of people don't realize, that's something that your average camper will understand. But another unobvious reason of it is, if you think about it, when you get old as dirt like me and you're all stoved up and you don't like bending over and squatting down, are you going to go around all over the woods bending over, picking up all these little sticks everywhere? Or are you just going to pick up a stick and sit down and process it? So think about it, you know, you grab 2 sticks, you go back and you sit down and you just start goofing around processing, you know what I mean? So something to think about, because it is hard work going around gathering up a big pile of small sticks, you know. And of course you got to find something that you got to ignite with a ferro rod. So anyway, enough rambling. Let's get on with this backyard tag. The thing we got to do is we got to baton up some pieces, and I'm going to use one to baton the other. Now I'm going to start in a crack right here to begin with, so that it's not as much pressure on my knife. See now, once I went through the split, where it's solid wood, I'm not going to have as much pressure. Now a lot of times people are complaining that when they split something, it'll split off to the side. Sometimes instead of beating it all the way through, kind of twist like that, which that didn't work. So we're getting some small pieces here now. Now see, I'm getting a knot right there. I'm batoning straight into a knot, and I don't like that. That's not good on the knife. But, I say I'm going to stop right there. I'm not going any further with that. Let's get this back out. That's a good way of getting out of a mess. Now I'm not going to baton into that knot again. I'm going to try to baton beside it. Just like this. Now I'm going back to batoning from this side. See if we can do that again. And again. And see, I'm not having much luck with it. Now at this point, I'm going to go to the other stick. Let's start batoning it. While I still have a half of a piece here. Now that thing just kind of split off to the side however it wanted to. So, let's try to split this. And again. And again. We're getting there. Alright, now we're getting a little bit more manageable sticks here. I'm going to pull you in a little closer because we're about done with the batoning. So what we're doing now is we're just turning two big sticks into smaller sticks into progressive ways. Now before I do much more abuse or damage to this knife here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making some feathers or some curls, because that's what I'll ignite with the ferro rod. Pull you up a little bit right here. See what we can do here. Now the center of that wood's pretty hard, so I'm going to go right here to the edge. Some wood feathers good and some doesn't. This doesn't seem to be feathering too good. Nah, this ain't feathering good at all. Alright, now I don't like how that piece is feathering. So let's go to another piece and see how it feathers. All these little pieces here are going to be very important. All these ones that have sprayed off everywhere. I see that piece is doing a lot better. Alright, I'm getting some feathers going here now. And I want a big old pile of feathers. That way I'll have time, once I get a flame on here with a ferro rod, I'll have time to put smaller sticks on and not have my initial flame go out. Man, that's some tough wood right there. I sharpened this knife up and stropped it. Alright, let's go to the other side. Get some bigger shavings. So I got some bigger, thicker shavings right there. That way I can hold it over those. See, these will be a lot thicker curls right here that I can use. Now what I want to do is I'm going to lay this here and I'm going to remove the end of that stick. Set that to the side. And we're going to try to make some more finer curls since I've got my larger curls. So let's move this over here. Let's see. What do we need to do? Let's try this one. I see that knot, that side has got like a knot or something down at the bottom. So we're going to quit with that side and move over here. Sometimes it'll skip across the wood, which isn't a good thing. That ain't doing too good there either. I'm getting quite the pile of shavings though, which is a good thing. Let's try another piece. Let's see. Let's try this one. That's the one that I batoned almost to nothing. Now you got to be careful putting a bunch of pressure on these thin sticks like this. Got to be careful getting your leg too close right there to that knife, like I just did. Do as I say, not as I do. Alright, we have a pile. I think this, whenever you think this is you have enough, go ahead and do some more. Alright, now we're going somewhere. See that? Alright, we just slung off some good chips in. Now I think that's enough. So what I'm going to do now, let's get all these little pieces here. I'm going to take all these little pieces, I'm going to put them in a pile here, and I'm going to dump my shavings right here. Now I think that's enough shavings. It should be, considering what I'm fixing to do to these things. Now what you want to do with this is you want to get out here on the end. Hold on, let me cut this off and then on, so I ain't got to edit. Alright, I got you back on. That'll make it a lot easier for me to edit. So what you want to do is take the biggest piece of wood that you have, lay the knife out on the end, and just start splitting it apart. People's going to say, that's not good for the knife. Well, it's very, very small wood. So I don't think it'll hurt it. It's also a safe way of doing it, I think. So we're splitting all this up now. Alright, so now what we're having here is we're having all these little pieces. And they're small enough now to where you can break them like this. And so we're going to have a mountain of all these little pieces here. Let's baton up this one. I'm probably not even going to need all these pieces. Alright, let's see. Here's a couple more. Let's do this one. This may be kind of boring doing all this, but you know, for some people it may be good to see the whole process. And I've always been under the impression that whenever you think you have the right amount of wood, keep going. Because once these curls are burned up, you're going to have to either make more or whatever, you know, start over. Because you got to have enough smaller stuff to go on to catch. And then there's a tinder, kindling, and fuel. And tinder, I don't know if you've heard this before, tinder is something that will take a spark and turn a spark into flame. Okay, that's tinder. Kindling will generally take a flame within, I think, 10 or 15 seconds. But there's stages of it. Start smaller to bigger. And just continue processing. And I'll show you one other trick. It's also called the two-stick trick. I'll show you that here in a minute. Once I get it going. Once I get a flame going, I'll show you. It's another way of sustaining what flame you have. Let's see, I think I'm getting back there. Now there's a knot on the end of this. See that? It won't even go in because there's a knot out on the end of it. That's something that you don't want to go with. You don't want to don't mess with knots. You just want to go with wood grain. I think we're getting enough here now. So what you want to do now, take some of these smaller sticks that are left. Let's see. Alright. Crack it. Crack it. See, now you're starting to get into the fuel side of things. Well, that's too big. We'll break it here. There we go. Your feet ain't just for running from bears. You don't have a machete. Do that. Now this last piece, let's try this. See if we can give it a weak spot. There we go. That is how you break a larger stick. Alright, let's go over here now, up on the hill, and dump all this out and start playing with our ferro rod. Alright, I drug this cloth over here up on the hill where all the mosquitoes are. And as you can see, I've got my tinder, kindling, and fuel, and then I've got my sustainment stick, okay, which means once I've got the initial flame going, I can start stacking stuff on, and hopefully the smaller stuff will catch on before the larger stuff will. Alright. Now I'm going to pick out two sticks that have sharp ends on them. This is going to be the 2-stick sustainment method that I'm going to show you that has nothing to do with this fire. Also good for transferring fire. I'm going to lay them over there. That's going to be kind of like a added bonus of some kind. So, alright, let me move the camera over to the spot where it's got all this junk in the background. I think I'm gonna build it right there. All right. Is that in shot? Yeah, that's in shot right there. All right, so let's take some of these shavings here. All right. Now, whatever you can grab as a handful, and set to the side, and then you scoop up the remaining and put it where your fire will be. Just like that. All right. You want your thinnest, sharpest stuff nearby, which is basically a mountain of it, because you want to be prepared. Okay. Alright, now let's take the old ferro rod. I like to lay something here so that I have a base. Now I'm going to use my beautiful, this is irritating me, the sun. Oh, okay, it's better. The sun was bothering me. Alright, lay the ferro rod on here. Let's put some of the thinner stuff, the thinner, fuzzier stuff right here where the ferro rod will be. Now, I got to work fast once it gets going. Once it gets going, because I'm going to pile these other shavings on. It's smoldering. There we go. Now what you want to do, let that go a little bit. Hold some pieces over it. Whew, got hot. So what you want to do now is pile all that on. Then you're going to start piling on the smaller stuff like this. See how good that's going already? But you can't goof off too much. You got to be sure and get all these small sticks on here so that you don't lose all of these, everything you've gained from having the curls. All these little sharp sticks right here are going to catch on. Alright, now let's start putting, here in a minute we're going to start putting on some of these larger ones. Now flames sustain it. Let me show you something here real quick. Take two sharp sticks if you think you may lose it. And what you want to do is you want to hold them upright like this, instead of just throwing them on the fire. And you want to hold them upright and catch those sharp edges on them as fast as possible. And let those climb. A long time ago I made a video on climbing fire stick. Now once you've got this going, you can also take these and you can let them feed each other. Just like that. And you just slowly move them like this. Back and forth and up and down, putting them on top of each other. But what that does is that helps. That's an extra way of sustaining a fire. Whew, God, it's hot. Another good reason for no Nomex gloves. Now see, this is going to be a massive roaring fire here in just a minute. It'll get to the point to where all you got to do is put on the fuel. Oh. Oh, that got hot. That fire wasn't where I thought it would be. And see, now I've worked my way up to the largest pieces. And see, if I wanted to transfer the fire, now I have this thing, I can just hold this over the flames. And see, that could be your fire transfer stick, because I have those thick things on it. But I'm just gonna, I don't have to transfer the fire, so I'm just gonna put it on there. So let's move this out of the way. Back the camera up so I don't melt it. That is a 2-stick fire. See, that is a beast of a fire. And that is how it's done. So you can see now the fire is plenty sustaining itself. And it's pretty much good to go now. And at this point, you don't even need any more tinder or kindling. All you need is fuel. You can just lay fuel up against it. And then once all that fuel in the TP fashion collapses towards itself, you'll have coals in. That thing I showed, it was kind of hectic going, but you could take the 2 pointy sticks. Now, like I say, if you've got the curls and you put all your curls on the fire and you don't have any extras for in case you lose your flame, you take the sharp pointy sticks, hold them over, gravity catches that sharp point and climbs up it, and you hold it until it burns. You can't hold it no more. It starts, you feel the heat. Well, if you've got 2 of them that way, then you hold them over each other and lean them at an angle, and then swap them and lean them at an angle. And that way you've got two extra flames, and it's almost like having two giant matches for like transferring a flame, or having an extra flame for in case this goes out. But anyway, so that's the 2-stick fire with a ferro rod. And you know, check out Nathan 4071 on eBay. Another thing I noticed about these ferro rods, these things, a lot of the ferro rods you got to move real fast, but this one you can just barely move and it'll spark. I don't know if you would consider that soft or what, but that's a good ferro rod, I think. And he's got ones that ain't round. He's got some squares and some hexagon ones, and I think I'm gonna get some of them. Those will be cool. I didn't even know they existed. But anyway, as far as the tag goes, I got two people in mind. One of them is I think it's Bushcraft Basics with Ben. I think that's right. I know when I edit, I'll put the right one on the screen. And then the other one is my friend Chasing Guns Outdoors. His real name's Chase. He's a cool guy. That's the two I can come up with off the bat. And since everybody's sheltered in place and can't leave and at home, you know, this is a backyard video. And if you want to fool around with this and learn how to strike feathers or curls into flame with a ferro rod, you know, let me know, and I'll stick you in the description box. Because like I said in a couple of videos back, I'm subscribed to so many different channels. I don't know who to tag and who to not tag. I don't know who's stuck at home and who's not. But you know, you ain't got to have grass, you ain't got to have cotton balls. If you've been using cotton balls, makeup pads, grass, pine straw, and you haven't done the curls and the shavings, I suggest that you experiment with it and practice, because it is a whole load of fun. Whole load of fun. Processing up 2 sticks like that. And see, now I got a nice fire right there with a bunch of coals over it. I could cook over it, you know. Of course, old Dave likes cooking over flame, because I have my reasons. People, that's the biggest complaint I have. Everybody's like, why don't you cook over coals? Well, there's a reason behind it. Cooking for coals is great if you just want a sustained heat. But the way I do it is with certain things you want a ton of heat, and with other things you just want a simmering heat. And the thing about the flames is you can put a bunch of small stuff on there and kick the flames up real good for heat. Or you can just let it be coals for a simmering heat. See, that's what I'm saying. It's almost like adjusting the temperature of an oven. And you do that with the kindling. You know, the small stuff, the stuff about the size of your finger. Put a pile on it, burst up into flames, and you've got a higher heat than your coals. Doesn't make much sense to a lot of people, but that's just how old Dave does things. So, anyway, I don't know. The next video's liable to be in the backyard. It could be. I don't know. I'm so ready to get out. Then again, April's going to be horrible. Y'all try to make the best of this time. Practice, experiment. Try not to go crazy being cooped up. So, until the next time, we shall see you in the next one.